is that I have made a size comparison between this schoolhouse and the Starship.
Oh, okay.
And it kind of fits.
So we'll put that on the list, right? We're going to launch your schoolhouse.
Yeah. I mean, I started last year with a picture of the schoolhouse on the moon, so I just need to get it there.
There you go. Worst case scenario is we'll disassemble it and put it in a Starship and then reassemble it on the moon.
Yes, I think that's probably more realistic than just put a Starship around it. But the funny thing is that it's very close to the same size.
Yeah, really interesting.
The Starship is 9 meters in outer diameter. The house won't fit in the Starship. It's roughly the same size.
Right.
While the width of this room and the house is 8.8 meters. The interior, so it's probably about 9 meter exterior here too.
Right.
Hi, Ulf. This is a very small meeting, it seems.
Yes. Is the light from the windows disturbing you?
No, that's fine. I see you too.
I could put the blind. I think I've fixed blinds.
Yeah. It didn't make a difference, I think.
No, it didn't. A small difference.
Yeah, I had the same problem.
That is much more. That's better.
Right.
Yeah. Thanks.
I had the same problem. I eventually had to put a piece of cardboard over my window because it was just blinds just weren't cutting it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well. I'm going to put insulation and plywood in front of my windows.
Well, I don't think my wife would be happy with that.
but then you have also made that sort of background that you can't actually see your own house or place where you are situated.
Yeah, I mean, Amazon.
Yeah, that's great. I tried to do that, but I just got a very beautiful picture of tulips, and I think that was not totally appropriate for a meeting about the moon.
Yeah, I have the old Artemis poster in the background.
Right. So, Niklas and Ben, are you happy with the conference? I mean, not this conference, but the big conference.
Yes, yeah. I thought really all the presentations were good, and some were very good.
Yes, I think some of them were very good, especially on Sunday.
Yeah. The one I thought was best from a personal perspective sort of was the one about worms. I really didn't know much about that, and I thought that was quite interesting to learn that worms actually eat the entire soil all the time. That was weird.
Or was that Adam Williams' presentation?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
What I'd be interested in is that, if you actually introduce them into raw regolith, would the sharpness be a problem with the worms? Because, I can't see them swallowing jagged glass and having it be a good outcome.
It kind of sounded as if, but okay, it was simulant he was using, so it's probably quite different with the sharpness of the regolith, but it should be possible to feed them tiny glass splinters or something like that.
I know I wouldn't want it if I was a worm.
Yeah, but in ordinary soil, there are lots of, let's say, stone particles. They might not be as sharp as the moon regolith, but still they are inedible small pieces of stone. that is present in all soils. And I think they actually sort of eat them in one end and poo them out in the other end, so to speak.
That's what was the experiment that he had been doing. He had taken regolith simulant and mixed it with some poo to give them something nourishing, and then he let them eat that. And the right amount of water. It sounded as if he had killed a fair number of worms by having the wrong amount of water first. Too moist and they drown, and too dry and they kind of shrivel up because the regolith is quite aggressive.
Right, and if you put too much in, the regolith becomes hard pan and they can't get through it. So it's a balancing act. But again, it's the problem with using regolith. Maybe there's other options.
But
then again, his aim was kind of regolith. What's it called? Damage control. So make sure the regolith gets into use. So I think feeding it to worms sounds like a good way. And then apparently they have acidic bacteria in the stomach that actually breaks down rock and releases nutrients from it. That's what their job, so to speak.
That's great. I read about a guy who actually took a meteorite and pulverized it and grew carrots in that kind of mixture. So I mean, try new things and see what works out. I was impressed by Alan Williams. I think he's a good researcher.
Yeah. Okay, 10 minutes. I think we're giving up on more Swedes, aren't we? I need to be more twist more arms next year.
Yeah, maybe twist them a little bit earlier. We put the invitation up on the Facebook page of Swedish Space Society, but now it's the general vacation time in Sweden, and it's not a very good time for, let's say, more work-oriented conferences.
No, but are there many people who think this is work-oriented?
Yes, I think it's work-oriented as opposed to lying on the beach and drinking beer.
True, it's more work-like than that. We'll give you that. Yeah. On the 40th anniversary, when I started pumping in Moon Mine, there were quite a big turnout. It was a bit of an excursion, I think. But it was outside as well, so that might have helped.
Yeah.
Right, and you were doing something, interesting. So more people are going to show up to see what happens.
Yeah.
I kind of had the intention of doing that here this year as well, to invite the local interest association and the sports club, but I didn't.
Well, maybe next year you'll have your conference room up and you can have it in there and you can have an audience, and this could just be part of it.
I could have had it in there, to be honest. I mean, it's a gym, a school gym, so it's big enough, and I have chairs, so just put out chairs. It was essentially what we did in Utorp with the mine as well.
Yeah. But I mean, people are sort of there's a large number of conferences on the net, and I think people are getting a bit more satiated on these conferences. So don't hang your lip, Niklas, or whatever you say in English.
Yeah. No. Well, I'm a bit sorry I didn't push more for local, but then again, it can only be improved to next year.
Right.
Yep.
So that's kind of my intention, to have something and have it on site as well as online, so that we can have and have time to get some audio visuals up and get them tried out beforehand as well.
Yeah, right. So what do we do now?
I have one slide. I'll show that because I thought that was fun. Share screen. Share screen. There, no, share screen. But I have two slides actually. There, do you see my PowerPoint here?
Yes.
So, okay, I should probably have started by increasing the size, but never mind. So the standard spaceship payload fairing is 9 meters in diameter. This is a cross section of Moonbase Lapträsk, and that's 8.8 meters in width of the middle house, which is the bigger one. And down here we have photos roughly to scale of the house, and this is the first launch and the rockets burning on Starship. And looking from the side, then that's the second slide, and I've tried to scale them roughly the same here. It seems that the house would kind of fit, especially if you take away the west wing, which is the one to the left here, which is where I will live though. But then again, if I'm living there, that might also be considered part of a moon base. You're supposed to live there, of course. So, and then I looked up the plans for Starship, and he's planning to build 1,000 Starships over a 10-year period, and then assumingly keep using those 1,000 rather than building 100 more per year. But that means 1,000 buildings this size or some such. So what will happen in 50 years if we start working on it? It can be a pretty big town.
Yep.
Yes, indeed. But there are lots of other technologies other than, let's say, rocket science that would be necessary to establish a moon base, like all the thing around the life support and all different technologies related to in situ resource utilization. And I think that is also a key issue.
Yeah, no, I agree that it isn't just to send old school houses to the moon. That won't really work. It isn't quite airtight enough.
On the other hand, you have to live somewhere. So if you make it totally gas tight, you can sort of use it.
It has to be modified slightly for that to happen. Yes. And also to, as you say, recycle air, recycle water, recycle food, recycle everything. And just have a small throughput of energy and lunar regolith or rock, depending on what you do. But that's rock anyway. So pulverized rock or unpulverized rock is what you got to choose from.
Yeah, right. May I, since we are so few in this meeting, may I raise another question related to what we're doing?
Sure.
After the conference, I was contacted by a woman from Space Copy / NASA, which participated in the conference. And she was interested in what could be done in practice regarding my presentation. And I have an idea that I can as well tell you guys right now. I think we should make a key issue in my presentation was that space people, so to speak, should be more keen on seeing what the green tech people or environmental technology people are doing, and try to determine what solutions that are developed for Earth could actually be applied to the moon, or to moon settlement. And I still think it's a good idea.
I agree.
And my idea is, when I worked at the Swedish EPA, we had competitions, not innovation competitions, which is a growing thing in Scandinavia, and of course also in the United States, but what we call innovation search competitions, that you compete on finding actual technologies or systems and decided if they could be part of a moon base or a sustainable city or whatever. And that was a competition, and there were criteria, for instance, on what TRI, the technology readiness level, is this particular technology. Is it tried and true? Is it very narrow? Has it a very narrow application or a very broad application? And you could start an innovation search competition. And I think I would like to try to do that thing. And we did it at the EPA. Then it was connected to, let's say, circular economy for sustainable cities. But we could do the same thing in a very general setup for a moon base.
Yes. And we could even frame it so that it does both. I mean, we take a moon base as an extreme example of a sustainable city, and anybody who is interested in sustainable cities are welcome to participate.
Yeah. And if you don't fall backwards over this idea, and
I really like it.
That's great. And Ben, I haven't seen you fall backwards either, so I suppose you think it's not a totally stupid idea.
No, it's a good idea. I am not sure how to implement something like that, but it definitely couldn't hurt. Anything that gets people engaged.
Yeah. Could the Moon Society be a part of this endeavor?
Yeah, it could, if it had people to run the project and lead it.
Well, what we could do, regardless of whether we have people or not, is to put it on the website, a bit of a text of what the thing is.
In that case, I will make this idea a bit more concrete and write it in English, and also give that thing to the woman. She had a strange name, like Feehan, as her
Madison Feehan.
Yeah.
My suggestion would be to put it on Lunarpedia and then link it on the website, because we want Lunarpedia to be like the repository for all the ideas and information.
Yeah. Okay.
But wouldn't that be more the results of the competition that would be put into Lunarpedia, and then we have okay.
You can have a page on the competition and the rules and everything, and then separate pages on the results. And I mean, we could do anything we want with Lunarpedia. We can make as many pages as we want, just as long as it's all linked up.
Yeah.
But I write up a suggestion and made it to you, Niklas and Ben, and to Madison, and see. And even if Madison doesn't really love the idea, I love it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I'll put it on my webpage as well, because that is very close actually to what I want to do. I mean, I'm building a moon-based analog, and I obviously don't have all the knowledge needed, because that would be Leonardo da Vinci of our time, and that doesn't really work these days.
No. And the reason that I think this is a good idea, that the process itself had to actually be tried by myself when I was an innovation strategist at the Swedish EPA, and it was fun and quite good result. And we had very small price, like $500 to the three best who actually found the best, let's say, technologies and systems according to the criteria. And we got about 150 contestants, and they got a diploma and was invited to a ceremony at the EPA and got some money and a very nice yellow, gold yellow diploma that you can hang on your wall.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot, actually. I could possibly offer a prize of coming and visit the Moonbase Lappträsk and try to implement it.
That's great. I mean, that's the next step. I mean, this is a way of having innovation competitions on the very first step, technology scouting or try and find an idea. And you can have similar competitions on every step in the implementation process.
Yeah, but that could also be, I mean, if I was participating in such a contest, I would really like if the prize was in an effort at least to make it work.
Say again, Niklas.
I would have liked, if I participated in such an effort, to that the prize is at least an effort to make it work.
Yeah.
So that I could be participating in, and since it is scouting, finding out where the technology is, the follow-up on that is obviously to contact the people who is actually doing it and trying to get them to come here to implement it.
Yeah.
And then it would be great if it was both the ones that suggested it and the ones actually doing it.
Yeah, that's a great idea, and you can have different classes in or categories in a competition like this. Oh, Cengiz is leaving us.
Bye, Cengiz.
Bye, Cengiz, and thank you for staying in.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And good that you had some success.
But you can have different categories, and I think the TRL level is a natural category, so we can have some solutions that are on the lab scale or very, let's say, conceptual, and something that are tried and true, at least in some parts of the world, but not yet part of a moon settlement theme.
Did you see my technology readiness levels that I suggested in my presentation?
Yes, of course. And I see them many times by now.
Yeah, because I deviated a fair bit from it. So, and essentially, because I think the NASA's TRL levels, that's they assume that you start from having an idea, and essentially I assume that if we're going to build a moon base, we shouldn't use anything that is groundbreaking new. We should use existing technology that has been tried on Earth. So the technology readiness level steps is only implementing it for use on the moon. It is not going from basic principles.
I do agree, and that's also the kind of background idea to my type of innovation search contest, because you're actually searching for things that already do exist. But then it could be existing on different, in spite of that, in different level of
definitely,
and also different levels of dissemination. If it's a very good thing, let's say in a particular country, but just in one place, in one facility, it's a different thing than if you have, let's say, hundreds of applications worldwide.
Yeah. You also have that some things that are high tech on Earth aren't that high tech on the moon. For example, if you use vacuum is kind of tricky to use and apply.
Yeah, that's true.
But on the moon, it's at least cheap.
Yeah, and if you have, let's say, where do you have intensive 4 days solar light? I mean, okay, in the Sahara Desert maybe, but not in so many places. At least not in Sweden.
Yeah, well, yes, you do. but it's just in the summertime, of course.
Yeah, and if you think this is a good idea, I will make it a bit more detailed and try to remember what I did in 2017.
Yeah. Do we need or want any other participants? I mean, we have Moon Society and Moon Base Labdesk at least. It would be good probably if there was some environmental.
Yeah, I mean, when I did this context at the EPA, we had 3 different agencies: Vinnova, Naturvårdsverket, Vinnova, which is
Innovation grant.
the innovation agency of Sweden, and also the energy agency as sort of founding fathers. But then we had a jury that applied the criteria. For instance, if there was a air purification solution, to decide on, in that case, what is the scope and applicability of this thing more worldwide. And we could have the same thing. We could have, let's say, more or less experts who could decide on some sort of criteria for the solution. So we must have some sort of filtering process to come up with the best ones.
Which actually in itself is a good thing, because that means we have a good way of engaging experts.
Yes.
I've got to walk away for a few minutes.
Yeah, no problem.
Right. No, I'm pleased that this is a good idea, and I'm a bit confident, and it worked out quite good at the EPA.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to engage people who aren't experts, but to look for what are people doing.
Yeah. Okay, I make a first draft of it and see what. And of course, Svenska rymdsällskapet. Förresten behöver vi inte prata engelska nu.
We're still recording actually.
Okay, let's keep talking English.
Vi skulle ju kunna säga att inte lägga ut den inspelningen i och för sig, men but I think it got quite interesting, so maybe we should do that.
Okay, we continue in English then. But I remember when I studied biology and at the more advanced levels, all the education, all the teamwork among students were conducted in English. But the majority of the students, of course, were Swedish, and a few people were from other European countries. And if they sometimes didn't participate in the group, all the Swedes were sort of relieved that they could speak Swedish and not English.
Yeah.
But of course, I think English will be the lingua franca of the world, even the next 100 years.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's it's better to make it understandable in English.
Yeah, and since we have language researchers have said that there are today 7 different dialects of English. I mean, British English, American English, but also Malaysian English, Singapore English, Indian English,
Australian English.
Yeah,
That's
Australian, of course.
that's different. I
Yeah.
had my uncle used to be telling that he, as a Swedish person, had to interpret between two native English speakers, an Australian and an American, and they could not understand each other.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. But on the other hand, I'm very pleased that at least 60% of the global population could communicate with each other using at least broken English.
Yeah, no, that's good. I agree.
So back to the idea.
Yeah.
I'm pleased that something good can come out of this, and of course lots of, and I do hope that the long-term effect will be that that space people will get more interested in following general trends in green tech, and the green tech people and environmentalists will see that space is a driving force for making good solutions.
Yeah, and that it isn't actually, which is that is actually it isn't actually competing, but the research is very complementary. You can use it in both places.
Yeah,
which I think will help with the image of both space and green technology. Actually, green tech is high tech, and space technology is good for Earth. It's a good image.
Yeah.
For both.
And sometimes very simple solutions could also be good, especially when it comes to recycling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, there's Ben again. And Earth is still shining behind you, Ben.
Yes. Sorry about that. My wife is stuck in a meeting and desperately needed some coffee.
That's great.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's priorities, definitely.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you notice my logo, by the way? I had it on my presentation, but I haven't discussed it with the board yet. So it's kind of unofficial, I think, but there you go.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it. Maybe I like the moon, of course, and move base and lab task. But I understand that the red thing should be the school itself. But
yes,
that's not self-evident. I mean,
no.
No, I think either you should have an actual picture or at least something more picture, my photo-like of the school there, because I think it's a good thing to have the school there as a sort of sign.
Yeah.
But just a red blob will make people confused.
Maybe.
It doesn't need to be a proper photo. It could be a more.
Well, you could also take the school image, reduce it, put it on the moon, and then put lab traps under moon base.
Yeah. Well, one reason I put it like that is that I thought you can use it as position tags. So if you have a conference, you can have some which have crew and some which has guests and
I like
things
it.
like that.
Thinking ahead.
That's good.
So it's kind of a free space that doesn't do much. But yeah, you could then, of course, easily instead of just a red blob, as you say, have a photo there.
And it could be a very schematic. I mean, reduced photo, I mean, it doesn't mean to have a proper high definition photo. It could be a bit reduced.
Stylized.
Yeah, stylized, that's it.
Yeah. No, I was thinking that too, but I didn't quite get there because I kind of want this color scheme of a red cottage with white, red and white cottage.
That's a good thing. It's a very Swedish thing. And
exactly.
That picture is the original hue of redness. That was the first version of Farlig Röd Färg, actually. Not today's more red or violet thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I think I actually used a pipette in the paint program to pick it from a cottage, which I thought was the right color.
You can also, if you used white piping to outline the various components, then it would be red and white, and it would look like the school. Like where the roof line is, where the buildings are kind of separated, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And well, I do intend to paint it red actually. Currently it is white, of course. So it's at the moment it's kind of difficult to recognize it from photos because the photos are the wrong color.
Yeah.
Right, but you're thinking ahead, so that's good.
Yeah.
I think the board will sort of authorize this logo.
Better than the last one, right? I got some pushback on the previous version of the logo I had, which was mainly the house and not much else.
Yeah, you need a little context.
Yeah.
The moon helps, and
it did have the moon actually, but kind of half of it. But yeah, I'm happier with this one. It's cleaner, simpler.
Mm-hmm. And it's a very good thing to have a moon picture on the logo, make it more self-evident.
Yeah, the moon needs to be there somehow. I agree. And this is about as obvious as you can get with the moon.
So is that the moon? Is that North or South Pole?
No.
No,
I think it's the far side actually.
I don't see very many Mare. Oh, well, yeah, it could be the far side, but it looks like there's Mares down there.
Yeah. Good question. I need to check that and probably decide what part to use. I just picked a nice picture, to be honest.
Right. If my suggestion would be to remove that picture and put up one of near side, because everybody, if they see that, they know what that is.
Yeah.
If people aren't really looking, if people aren't looking hard at that, that could be Ceres or some other. That could be Mercury for all we know.
Yeah,
good point.
That's a good point. I mean, the familiar face of the moon is better, and then it has to be near side.
Yeah. No, I agree. It should be the rabbit, or whatever you call it, the man in the moon. Some people see a rabbit of it. I think it's the American Indians.
I can't see anything. And when I look at it, I don't see a face. I don't see a rabbit.
Not in this one, but
well, no. But I'm just saying in general. When I go outside to look at the moon, I don't see any of that.
I haven't seen the rabbit until very recently, when I saw a drawing where they had made sure that they used the moon and they make sure that it looked like a rabbit, and then I looked at the moon and squinted my eyes, and if you make an effort, you can see a rabbit.
So Ben, you have never looked at the clouds as a child and seeing figures or shapes of the clouds?
Yeah, sometimes, but a lot of the times, you get those posters and they're like, you can see this in it, you can see that, and I have a hard time seeing that stuff. I guess I'm just too literal. I look at the moon and I'm like, all right, there's the Mare. There's this, I know those craters.
Yeah. Guys, excuse me. I go and get a drug. Just as a second.
Okay. Now I wonder what drug he's getting.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
thinking maybe I should go get some drugs.
I have finished my coffee. No, I haven't finished my coffee. I have some cold coffee left.
Oh no.
And I
So,
should drink
yeah, it is.
tea.
Let me know.
Now I have got the drug, and it's actually Swedish snus, which almost got me arrested in the United States.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is a soft snus, soft like chewing tobacco, which you put on your lip, and I was accused of peddling some very strange new narcotic. I had a long discussion and discussing the Swedish cultural context of snus, and this actually is approved by the European Union, and I think it would be a trade war between the European Union and the United States if I wasn't let through customs.
Have they bought that?
Yep.
Okay, good. Very good. Yep. I have actually been stopped in customs when they wanted to check my vial of lunar regolith.
All right.
It is weird.
Yep. Yeah. It was a glass jar, kind of smallish, with some gray substance in it. I can understand they got a bit suspicious.
Did they open it?
I think I opened it actually. I'm not quite sure. They liked the explanation of lunar regolith simulant.
Well, it's just probably because it's something they haven't encountered before. So
Exactly.
you gave them something new to talk about.
Yep.
Yeah. But that was the Shimizu version of moon regolith.
It was, yes. Shimizu. I think it was going back from a conference in the US actually, where I met I think it was Kanamori, from Shimizu, who had some of those vials with him and that he handed out to people he thought were interested.
Cool.
A completely different question that you might know, Ben. The company that Madison is from, the Space Copy Flash. What kind of company is that?
Tiny startup.
They're doing 3D printing.
Okay.
So their thing is
they have a concept where they're doing advanced 3D printer, I would say, and connecting it with the analysis.
Yeah, so from what I understand, their 3D printer takes raw regolith and uses a laser and basically sinters it. And it's good up for like parts up to maybe I think she said a meter. So
I'm not sure they have made a printer. I don't think she was clear on that.
I don't know if they actually have the thing, but that's kind of their concept. And then the thing is also is that they have a device, probably some kind of GCMS, where you can take your sample of regolith and they'll scan it and you'll know what it's composed of, and then you can blend it with other stuff to get the composition you want for whatever part you're going to print. Seems very complicated to me, but good on them if they can get it to work.
But spectrometer and doing the analysis is a good thing, but then to feed regolith into the printer, then a spectrometer is overkill. You need to extract minerals. I think both the spectrometer and the printer is good ideas to put on the moon, but combining them seems a bit odd.
Well, if you're just sintering it, you don't really care about extracting anything. You're just sintering the particles. But I think that using raw regolith is going to have some issues when they actually do it, because Vince Rue, who was also a presenter, I think in a previous year, he talked about how they have had a massively hard time getting regolith to flow properly. And so feeding it into a machine without any kind of processing ahead of time, because it's all jaggedy and everything, it just locks up. So I think trying to feed raw regolith into a printer is going to be problematic.
Yeah.
The sketch was to kind of push it over, which seems simple enough, but yeah, can still get problems with that, I guess.
Well, I mean, Vince was talking about Vince. In case you didn't know, Vince owns a regolith simulant company. They make high resolution regolith simulant, and they can actually make small batches that have agglutinates in it, so you get the jaggedness and you get that kind of property. So, he was talking about how even pushing the regolith is problematic just because the way it acts. And, you throw in the fact that trying to do that in its native environment, it becomes extremely difficult. I mean, we all know how hard the astronauts had to work just to push the core samples in. Nobody really tried to excavate anything. That's a whole nother problem. So anything that deals with raw regolith is going to have issues that have to be resolved. I mean, even if you don't count in the dust, which is just a huge factor.
Yeah.
But
doesn't University of California, University of Florida have a large research facility using simulated moon regolith?
Oh yeah. Florida's got, NASA has a building with a pretty large regolith simulant pad, pretty big, that they can run rovers through and everything else. And then there's like Central University of Florida's also got something. And Vince and his crew, they're out in the Pacific Northwest somewhere, Seattle or Portland or something like that.
Right. No, I was just curious about the character of the company of Madison. And it's a serious company on the very technical side, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't know much about them, just basically what she talked about in the presentation.
Yeah. In my world, copy is also a marketing term.
Yeah, it is.
When you write copy, you make ads.
Yeah, when Nicholas first said that she wanted to present, my thought was, were they doing space marketing?
Yeah,
okay.
That was my thought too. So, but then I checked on her homepage and
there's a couple other companies in the U.S. that are doing space 3D printing. I know Redwire is one of them. If you Google it, I'm sure it'll come up with a few others.
Well, plenty of companies doing 3D printing, obviously, so that's not a new thing.
No, the problem the problem becomes if you use regolith or if you're trying to 3D print on the surface, because surface environment's pretty rough and creating the equipment to operate in that is pretty hard. But if you just talk about 3D printing inside the habitat, you don't need much in the way of exotic materials.
Still need some high precision equipment.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the problem, right? So what we've been talking about, you can throw a 3D printer on the moon, but can you service it? Can you build new ones? I mean, how tied are you to Earth if this is a critical piece of technology for you?
Yeah, right.
And most of the 3D printing that I've seen uses a binder agent. So, I mean, you're shipping your binder in from Earth too. So even more vulnerability.
I'm thinking about laser metal powder and or wire. So then is metal rather, and or plastic. That's the standard one, obviously, but then you need the plastic. But you're mainly talking house printing, right? If you're talking binder.
Yeah, it's regolith printing. So hers uses a laser to sinter. Most of them use a binder with the regolith, and it hardens.
Yeah.
The metal printing, I did a very brief look at that, and I'm not sure it's there yet. I know you can do it, but it looks pretty complicated.
It is being run. I was doing research on that actually for 15, 20 years ago.
I guess my question would be, okay, so you're printing, let's say you're printing a part. What's the advantages of that versus casting the part? Because we know how to cast, it's super easy. You
don't need the mold.
But that's not hard. I mean, I saw a video, these guys in India casting turbine components using sand casting. And they just slam them together. You have your mold, you pack the thing in, you remove the mold, you pour the metal in. I mean, it's a simple, well-known process. So I guess my question is, somebody should do a trade study to see advantages, disadvantages.
Yeah, right.
Sand casting, you also need binder.
No, you pack it in. You just pack. I mean, and if it's, let's say it's just a basalt powder instead of sand, because you might have a lot of that. Not regolith, because regolith is crap, but basalt powder. You just pack it into the mold, pour your metal in, let it cool, then break it apart. I mean, you have to repack it every time you want to cast something, but it's not. I'm just saying it's not a complicated process that doesn't require a whole lot of technology. So that's the advantage. It would also be interesting.
I have actually seen some trade-off studies between lost wax casting, which they tend to be using. So they start by doing the component shape they want in wax. And then they cast sand around it, so to speak, and then they melt the wax to get the shape, and then they pour in metal.
Yeah, you see, I don't think you'd use lost wax on the moon because you'd have to have a supply of wax.
That I think you can reuse pretty much most of that. I think the sand mold, on the other hand, that needs to be hard enough to keep the metal, so that's I think it's more difficult to reuse.
But you don't reuse it.
No,
as I understand
which means you need more a supply of sand there.
Well, yeah, but it's not consumed either. I mean, you don't use the sand to make the shape. You craft the shape once, you put it in the sand, you pack the sand in tight, you remove the shape. So you can't do like super complicated things, which would be the advantage of 3D printing. You can make very complicated fiddly bits.
And with the internal structure.
Right. So if you needed something super complicated.
Or something with the internal structure.
Again, complicated.
Yeah.
But if you're making a hammer, I think casting might win out over 3D printing.
Yep, but if you want to do something with an internal structure and a hammer, then maybe 3D printing wins out over casting and 3D printing.
Maybe I don't know. It'd be interesting to see some studies on that.
Yep. Agree on that. Then you have forging as well, obviously.
Yeah, forging and metal removal. So there's all kinds of things, but like forging and metal removal requires more equipment, but still.
A new guy has been connected up.
Yep.
Hi, that name seems Turkish. Is that correct? If you put your mic on, Saigi, do you understand us?
Hello, yes, I am Saigi.
Hi. I guess you are aiming for Cengiz
Yes,
event.
yes. Yeah,
Yes.
Professor Cengiz.
Unfortunately, that ended about an hour ago. I think what has happened there is that the Moon Village Association has the wrong time on their website.
Okay. We can continue together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're free to stay, but we have been doing the Swedish part of the event for quite a while. No, we're doing it in English because Ben is American, so he doesn't understand Swedish, and
That's right.
It's only Ulf and me from Sweden.
Okay.
So Cengiz's event will be put on the Moon Society YouTube page in a few weeks.
Okay.
So
okay.
you can watch it then. Probably 3 to 4 weeks, depending on when I can get to it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
Speaking about presentations, recorded presentations, when will the presentations of last weekend be up and running?
3 to 4 weeks.
Right.
Yeah. I won't have time next week to do it. Maybe the week after.
No hurry. I'm just curious.
Yeah, all the members. I'll send an email to all the members, basically saying that it's up, and I'll post something on the website.
Yeah, that's great. So, guys, I will have to make some more phone calls. And in Sweden, it's let's say not polite calling after 2100 hours. So I think I have to leave you guys.
You got an hour to make the phone calls.
Yeah.
That's good. And we actually had an hour. I think then maybe we put this online after all. We have been talking some things of it was interesting, I think.
Okay, yeah, I mean, sure, call. I'll get it all edited, and you can decide if you want it up or not. You can look at it and decide if it's worth it, or if you want to put a little recording on in front of it with a disclaimer, however you want to play it.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll shut this down. Thanks, everybody. It's been interesting.
Thanks, everybody. And Saigi, you need to look at Cengiz presentations.
Okay. Thank you.
They came up.
Thank you.
Bye. Sorry about the mix-up with times there.
No problem. Okay. Thank you.
And Niklas and Ben, again, a very good conference last weekend.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna end it. Bye, guys.
Yep.
Yeah, bye.
Cheers. Bye.